Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gen Z versus Millennials podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Kavani.
I'm Julia.
And I'm Ellen, the only millennial in the room.
That's right. Everyone else here is a part of Gen Z. And today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different topics. But I guess first to start off, we're going to talk about social media. And Jake here has maybe a unique perspective on it.
Yes, for at least a month, I went off social media. Well, not off the grid, but I still texted people, but more like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat, like all the reels and stuff. I deleted and I stayed away from it for a month, and I really felt more productive. I felt like I could do more things that I didn't expect I would like to read. Like I didn't really like to read until that month where I was kind of bored, but I put good things in there, more productive things than just looking and scrolling through my phone for funny memes or whatever. What are your guys' perspectives?
I actually recently just deactivated my spam account on Instagram, which for context, for people who don't know what that is, you have your main account where you post photos of you and your friends and, just fun things. But on your spam account, it's usually private and you post more personal matters and opinions and stuff like that. So I just deactivated that because I was on it too much, I feel. And I already feel like I'm on my phone less. And I do think I would recommend it to other people just to take a break.
So when you were doing your spam account, did you feel less happy, or you were more involved in politics, I imagine?
Not from Instagram, no. But I felt like I was too involved in it and just everything.
Okay.
And other people's lives too. I was like,
was it a negative mindset? Well, I don't want to say it, but a negative mindset,
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think being in a negative mindset, and being active for it, it's just brings your whole mood down, I think.
Definitely. And I think some things are better off just you don't want to know. I don't need to know what's on my spam account right now. I don't need to know what's going on. I like not knowing, actually.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing. I feel like our generation was kind of screwed with social interactions and stuff because we were brought in with the internet from when we were kids. So immediately everything changed, I feel like. Kids started obviously going outside less and everything started shifting. Life started being on social media, it feels like. And I mean, even now, you can, I don't like going on social media and I don't have TikTok anymore and I don't like going on it. But even when you do miss things and aren't on social media, it can kind of feel like you've been taken out of the, consciousness that everybody else has about internet miss things going on. And you're kind of out of the loop. So you have to choose being in the loop or sometimes happiness, it feels like.
I do definitely agree. I feel like once you do take that step back, you can feel almost behind because people will be talking about current events or just current jokes and stuff, and you just don't have the context for it. But I think that means we just need to be encouraging a more widespread disconnect from social media so that it can become more normal and it doesn't have to feel so
disconnecting,
social death.
Yeah.
Stop using it because quite honestly, you can miss so much in a day. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Nowadays, I miss a lot of news that comes out from day to day. But back when I was younger, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, but I never learned how to ride a bike. So it's just I just used social media and stayed at home for most of it, played video games and shit. Can I swear? Okay. Yeah, it was just a different time back then. I actually learned how to ride a bike in Iraq. That was, yeah, insane.
Wow.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think just moving forward, thinking about Gen Z versus millennials, like us Gen Z kids, we've pretty much had like a glowing dopamine box like in front of our faces since childhood, which has like kind of changed our brains in irreparable ways. And I was wondering like maybe how a millennial viewed that and what your relationship with social media is in the context of how we view it.
I love the term glowing dopamine box. Is that what you said?
Yeah, something like that
That's beautiful. I'm going to remember that forever.
type shit.
I think about my relationship with social media a lot. And I do think about, I remember a time when I didn't have the internet, and you guys never remember a time probably without the internet. So that's really interesting for me to think about. I feel like maybe, and this would be interesting to get somebody else on a different generation on here, that I think it's really maybe not so much what generation you're in, but how often, how heavily you're utilizing it. And maybe with like Gen Z or whatever the generation is below that, I don't know if they even have a name yet, it's ingrained in your day-to-day life and you miss out on so much. You feel disconnected if you're not part of it. I feel like I have more of freedom to disconnect, maybe because it's not as relevant to me as it was in college. Like Facebook, I used super heavy. And now I am on Instagram again, and not really Facebook, but I guess LinkedIn and Instagram.
Were you a MySpace girly?
No, I never had MySpace.
I made a MySpace
Did
just for
you?
fun. Yeah.
Is that still a thing?
No.
You're just being retro with it?
Yeah, it was so fun. You got to. We should bring back MySpace.
I loved how shady it was.
Real. You could play music when you went on somebody's webpage, I heard. Come on.
I don't really remember it. I just know that guy Tom. He was like everyone's friend. Anyways, that probably isn't a reference you get. Yeah, it's a thing. I love that you disconnect from it and you can. Probably not a relevant question. Who gets access to your spam account? Is it only friends? Is it like who gets just friends? No family.
Well, I'm on there.
I have had family members find me on multiple occasions. I unfortunately had to block them.
So I'm Julia's brother, and I'm on her spam account, but I'm not on her spam account's close friend story.
That's
So,
true. That's another level.
There are a lot of levels
There are many
to this.
levels.
Yeah.
Too many.
I feel
What
like
even
people
say?
try to create like some sort of privacy online.
There's
which can be
tiers.
difficult to do. Yeah.
Tiers of closeness, depending on what story they're on.
Yeah. Again, like Sam said, it's such a weird thing for like privacy, just because it's like it's online. Like it's like even, someone could be looking over their shoulder and all of a sudden they're on your close friend story now.
Yeah.
Now they know everything.
Mm-hmm. It's also weird beefing on the internet.
What does beefing mean?
Fighting.
Arguing.
Like when two celebrities have an iconic like dispute or just like dislike for each other, they have beef.
Yeah, or if your ex keeps subtweeting you on Twitter.
Facts.
Is that relatable to you, Kavani?
Well, I feel like it's relatable to a lot of people, but yes.
I didn't even understand what you said. When your ex what?
Subtweets you.
Subtweets? Okay. I'm
Yeah.
not a big Twitter user. Do you guys know what that
It
means?
means-
Okay.
Yeah.
I stay away.
Like, they're talking, people are talking about you, but they're not mentioning your name. But they're like, but everybody kind of knows who they're talking about.
They're indirectly just mentioning you,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
And like, usually it's,
Are they being like passive aggressive?
yeah, usually it's that. Or just full on aggressive.
Yeah, I never really got like arguing online. I never really understood it. It's just a waste of time, I think, because it's only going to hurt both the parties negatively.
Yeah.
You're never going to change someone's mind on the internet.
Yeah, I came to that conclusion a couple years ago because I was a comment warrior, but
Can you define some of these terms? I don't know.
I mean,
a comment warrior
A
is.
I just made that one up.
I think comment. What she means is like she reads the comments and all the like. A lot of people say bad things about.
I would
like,
get into
whoever
arguments with
says-
people in the comments because they would
And
say
that's-
something dumb, and I'd be like,
That's an addiction.
"Yeah,
That's not good.
It's
For sure.
going to the comment section. Just don't. Like, you have such a better internet experience when you don't go into the comment section.
Yeah,
and I've
just don't waste your time
like,
with that.
so much. I don't know. So many things I feel like happen in internet culture in the comment section.
Definitely. And I think places like Twitter and Instagram now, they pretty much boost comments that are seen as like the most controversial. Like, so when
The
you
ones
go
that'll
there,
make you mad.
they like it's designed to make you just keep scrolling and getting angry so that you're engaged in the site, because happy users will most likely get off the site.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the major problems just with social media in general.
I was gonna say I agree as well. So many things nowadays are like bait to keep people watching or keep people into something, and I didn't even realize that was a thing. So I would see something, I was like, "That's so stupid. Why would someone say that?" And then in the comments, it's like, "Guys, they're literally like, they're just doing this for attention." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I see."
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of scummy ways to like get views on the internet too. Like
True.
with TikTok, there's like you always see the people like giving food to the homeless people, like, and then it's all staged and like it's just all fake. It doesn't make any sense to me just for the views.
I have a question for you guys. How do you feel about the phrase like question everything, like criticize everything when it comes to social media?
Like, I guess I see what it's saying. I just feel like you should almost not take stuff on social media seriously.
Yeah.
Like, it's all entertainment for the most part.
Yeah, I feel like people go really ham on the criticizing part. So much of the internet is literally just like making rude comments about people who you don't really know. And I mean, I feel like there's been so much more negativity in put in my head from comments that I've seen that aren't even relating to me. But I feel, what were you saying about something? I can't remember. I don't know.
Like, talking about what?
It was something about the comments and how
They're designed to like engage you with controversial takes.
I feel like the atmosphere now is just more critical rather than like less serious.
Everything is very serious on the internet, it feels like. Especially on places like Twitter, like in political spaces.
You make one mistake and like you're criticized heavily for it, and I don't know.
Yeah, there's a joke on Twitter, like pretty much like you could say you like pancakes and somebody will say, "Oh, so you don't like waffles?" Like, people,
that's literally it.
They create things in their mind to get mad at, and it's
absolutely.
I always think of it as like a reflection of our humanity, that we need to express these sort of emotions, but with the screen in between you, it feels different. And that's why I think the answer isn't always looking back at the past, but I do find it fascinating when you think about town halls or any of these community gathering spaces that people don't really use heavily anymore since the pandemic. But even before then, not a lot of people are going to your town hall meetings. But ways to interact with people where you're really face to face with somebody that you might disagree with, it feels different than if you're in the comment section.
Absolutely.
And you probably never would have talked to that person 50 years ago. You wouldn't have known who they were. And maybe they wouldn't have gotten mad that you didn't like waffles, And I wonder if we need to think more about re-engaging on a person-to-person, face-to-face level.
I think we need that.
I think
for humanity to continue, I guess.
Community is super important, and I feel like, I don't know if it's just in the US, but I feel like a lot of people are very individualistic and isolationist, and I feel like it's only gotten worse in the past, like, I don't know, like for the time I've been alive.
I suggest socialism.
I mean, that's good, but why don't we're talking to a millennial. Why don't we use like nice words like sugarcoat it?
Bernie
Like,
Sanders.
How about, that's too radical. He wants free healthcare. Like, how about we start with like maybe like better public transportation and walkable cities? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or unless you just
a third place, perhaps.
Yeah.
Would love a third
I mean,
place.
a house in the suburb is nice, but I don't want to have to drive like 20 minutes to get anywhere.
No, I hate being in the suburbs because there's nothing close and everything feels like 8,000 miles away.
And in addition, sorry, Julia, suburbs are actually, like, they can be often worse for kids because there are so many cars. Like, the infrastructure is based around cars. There's no place for kids to walk, play outside. Like, in other countries, like Japan, I don't know if you guys have seen, like, the Netflix show where a 2-year-old can walk to the store. And people in the U.S. think that's insane. But it's just, I don't know. It's not
Culture.
yeah, it's partially culture and just.
Something to add to that. For the suburbs, like you only have cars. That's part of the reason why I didn't learn how to ride a bike, because there wasn't really many places to go, and my parents just drove me everywhere when I went outside. So,
I mean, we had a summer of biking, and even during that summer, we were told to watch out for the streaker.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Like, even when you try to integrate these kinds of activities in, it's just already like so many issues will come up. When you try to do something well, sometimes adults will even be like, oh, watch out for this, don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah, adults, I feel like so many adults are very, like, scared of the world. Like, they have some sort of anxiety that was kind of, like, pressed into us, and then they turn around and get mad when we turn to things like video games and social media. But it's like, what else do we really have? Like, the world that we grew up in I think it's a lot different than what older people have grown up in. Like, especially seeing our parents go through, like, the financial crisis in 2008, like, the American dream just looks a lot different for us. Like, I think we've kind of seen behind the curtain, so to speak, and just, like, including climate change, there aren't a lot of positive prospects for us. So,
Yeah.
like, with the world looking as bleak as it is, like, it makes sense that a lot of people turn to nihilism.
something to add on to that, it does feel like you're proud to be American. That saying has been getting less and less over the generations. Like, as a millennial, I imagine there were more people that were proudful to be an American than Gen Z, because I don't see many people in Gen Z that are proud to be American. But back in like Gen X or Boomer, they were heavily on.
There's a song.
Side. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like something to rally around, I think, for each of those generations, either World War II or the Vietnam War. You could come together and either support something or be against something. And I think with the division that's happening, which is probably a result of social media interaction, using a screen, all that stuff, I think it's harder to rally around something, even though we have these huge major issues that are, coming down that make things look very bleak. I always like to look at the brighter side. I do feel optimistic in the younger generations, because I do think that no matter what generation comes down, like if you look at history, there's always been ingenuity within humanity, and we adapt. And I think that will happen. And I think part of the answer is community and connection.
For
definitely.
sure.
And I'm all about that.
And I will say, like, online spaces can be a good place to foster community, especially when, like, physical spaces either don't exist or aren't safe for people who are, like, in parts of outgroups and minorities. I think it can be a useful space. It just has to be used correctly.
Yeah, I feel like it's so hard to regulate things. Like, I don't know. It's so weird with the internet, because I've been thinking, like, lately, would we be better, like, with it or without it in our livelihoods? And I don't know, it's just such a loaded question, and I don't know. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. Still have not come up with the answer.
Yeah, what time are we on? Because we could talk about a lot more stuff, but I don't want to start saying, like, socialism and free healthcare if we only have, like, 2 minutes left.
Maybe we'll save that for the next episode.
Because I do want to know how millennials view things like that.
Yeah.
Like, how do you guys view, like, the prospect
Bring
of
Ben in here.
universal healthcare, even, like, housing the homeless? Like, is housing a human right? Because I feel like a lot of people have this idea of, like, oh, if you're not working, like, 80 hours a week, you deserve to die. Yeah, and I think, like, I don't know how millennials view capitalism, if you guys are big fans, but I feel like a lot more people in Gen Z kind of see some of the faults in it. Not that there's any perfect system, but
there are faults in any system. There are faults in any system, but to be totally blind to think that the capitalism has no faults is just wrong.
yeah. And I think especially just the idea of like, oh, if we help out the rich, they're going to help us. I feel like that's a big thing that a lot of older people say, like Reaganomics. And it's just, I feel like if you look around, you can definitely see that like they only want to benefit themselves.
I took an international relations course this year, and it was probably one of the most depressing classes I've ever taken, because it basically was like, well, the system was set up so that the people who are at the top stay at the top, and then now they've kind of made all the systems so that they have to stay that way or they need to be completely toppled. And it's, I don't know, like the UN they've been trying to reform it for the past 30 years and nothing's come of it. And it's just getting, I don't know, things keep escalating, and there just seems to continuously not be a solution to those issues.
I actually watched a video on the UN and like the peacekeeping forces.
Oh, yeah.
But they've been banned, like, I don't know when, but they've been banned for a little while. And like, people keep saying like, oh, it has no impact on stopping wars, but it has. They just refuse to look at the statistics and think the only thing preventing war is with more weapons, which is just wrong. Is not the right solution.
Yeah, I think a lot of, like, I don't want to say older people, maybe not millennials, but a lot of people in the Gen X and Boomer generations are very beholden to traditions and like, oh, this is how things were. And a lot of Gen Z kids, or at least the people I know, are really thinking about, like, do these systems serve us? Like, and can we change them? Because if they're not helping the people, then why do we have them around? Like, we shouldn't just keep something because it's been somewhat operational over the past 200 years.
Yeah, and I mean, like, those are the same systems that are now bringing us to where we've been told the world's going to end basically by 2050 due to climate change, like, stuff. And there's already wars over water, so it's kind of like, well, we have to do something, but, I mean...
It doesn't seem like we're doing anything.
Yeah.
We're making a podcast.
Yeah,
Perfect.
It kind of frustrates me when, like, the biggest thing that the Republican Party cares about is, like, oh, we have to ban trans people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, besides the fact that, like, they deserve to exist, whatever, it's also just a big distraction from everything else that's going on.
Yeah.
And I think
I
that's,
mean,
like...
We're on the brink of defaulting on our loans, which would be the first time that's ever happened in history. But, like, they made a deal, but they don't even know if it's going to pass yet because it has to go through, I think, the House or something. And even that, they're like, oh, we don't know if we're going to come to an agreement on this. And it's like, well, if we can't come to an agreement on this, then what can we come to an agreement on?
It's like, brother, that's your job.
Yeah.
It's the one thing you have to do.
For real.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's, like, it's hard for me to understand things like the debt ceiling and all that, because I feel like in some cases it just, like, it exists theoretically, but if we go above it, we just raise the debt ceiling and we just keep making more money. Like, I think as long as our GDP keeps growing, like, it doesn't really matter how much debt we have to a certain extent. But it seems like people are always like, oh, it's all about the money, it's all about the economy.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with the conversation. You're also well-spoken and knowledgeable on these issues. I obviously can't speak for the millennial generation at large because there's a lot of diversity in that.
Please do it.
But I think that you're right about the systematic, looking at the systems and how the systems need to change foundationally, and that's really scary for a lot of people. And as you all grow older, hopefully, knock on wood, like we'll get to an older age, we need to evaluate what the younger generation coming up is saying too, and not to get too beholden to our traditions and our thought process, because there's always something to learn from the experiences of people coming up from under you and from above you. So I think it's probably somewhere in the middle that we need to meet on all of it. And it's really hard to do that because there's so many strong forces on either side, but we're all in existence in the world together. And that's why government, it's so conflicted and hard. And when you look at it, it's very complicated. And just for a second, I feel like we need more civics classes.
Yes.
We need to educate society on how our current government functions, because there's a lot of anger of why are things moving so slow? Why isn't this happening? Blah, blah, blah. So how does it work? And if you wanted to change it, what are the ways?
Get rid of the two-party system. Get rid of the two-party system, please, please.
Easy peasy.
Please.
Rank choice voting.
Yes.
That is something that I'm like so into. That we could really bring in. I think the state of Maine does it, and Cambridge, the city of Cambridge, does ranked choice voting too.
That's cool. I think some parts of Alaska do it too, or it could be all of Alaska. But yeah, things aren't just like one side or the other.
What was it?
Ranked choice voting.
What's that?
So it's like you vote your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice.
I see.
And the person that wins isn't like, it's based on people's first, second, and third. So it's usually not somebody on an extreme side, I think, that gets into office. You know, it's like people in general are usually, the majority of people are happier with the person elected because of the system.
So is it like the top person gets the most points and the lowest person gets like less points, like, so to speak? Like, how does the ranking work in terms of like deciding who wins?
I think it's
It
some
just
sort
does.
of numerical equation.
Okay,
like that,
yeah.
Which I can't really.
You don't know
speak.
math.
I
You're
just-
the
But
engineer
it
here,
sounds
buddy.
cool.
I
doesn't
just
it,
wanted to make
guys?
sure. You're the poli-science major, Kavani. What the hell?
All I know is like P plus something V equals like D, which is like, I don't know. I think that's all wrong, but something about the incentive to vote and getting to the polls.
Pokemon go to the polls. You know what I mean,
Pokemon
millennials?
go to the polls.
I don't even know what that means.
Thank you,
It's-
Hillary.
Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Okay.
Yeah.
The original
You're
girl
not
boss.
her girly. Facts.
Oh my gosh, you guys are really funny.
Never forget the 2016 election.
Yeah.
Well, you all can.
When it
Wait,
all
will
went
this be
downhill.
the first election, 2024? You all can vote, right?
Yes.
In the presidential election.
Wow.
Mhm.
I voted in the midterms.
I did. I voted for some dude in the Workers' Party in Massachusetts. I think he got like 2% of the votes, but that's okay.
Proud of you.
I don't even know what they do. I just like the name. So I think we've talked about a lot, but there's a lot more that we can talk about. I want to hear more maybe from the millennial perspective next time, but I think we had a good discussion, and I liked hearing everybody's inputs. Like, everybody is super well-spoken and intelligent. I loved hearing you talk, and yeah, it's been fun.